ground, you get injuries, and they're out of control. And so, we made a point of emphasis. They handled it well because I thought they competed but were smart about it without pads. So it was good. It was a good first day.
Mike? Yeah, Coach, I just wondered about Romeo and talking coming out with a pretty good season. I wonder how much of the stuff he did last year in that system transfers into what you guys do now. What good stuff was he up to?
I think a lot of it translates to what he was doing last year. There's things about it that are similar because they had, you would say just in our base, we're a little more 3 down, where there was, you can consider 5 down, but honestly, he's still playing that outside rusher DN kind of, so it's not like he hasn't done that. But I think, I think it's very similar, and I think it's something that he'll do well for us. And one of the reasons we wanted him back, we love his effort and his length. He just gives it all the time, and he can get to the quarterback, man. He's crafty. He knows how to use what he's got and give tackles a fit. So, what's that? I survived. That's a good way to put it. Listen, that was AG, man. That was all AG with the up downs, because he had said it the night before in the defensive meeting. After my meeting, he goes in there and he sets the tone, kind of what they're doing, and he tells them, "Look, we're starting a tradition here, guys. We're doing 40 of them things." And so I'm watching. I'm like, "Oh crap." My first thought was, "Man, I'm glad I'm not them." And then my second thought was, "Man, maybe I need to be in there with them, since it's my defense too, So, but that was all AG. And the worst move I made was getting between Aaron Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant. All right, I should have gone down to the other end, but no, it was good, man. Listen, that's all AG. And by the way, the whole defensive staff got involved. And if they couldn't do it, then they were doing planks or whatever. But I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's just setting the tone. You talking about Twinkle Toes? Yeah, look, until we get in pads, we like what we saw in the spring. John Penasini had things going on in the spring a little bit, where he wasn't able to be here, and it was nothing that I didn't want to. He had issues that were going on that everything's fine, but we got to see a lot more of McNeil, and so, look, we like where he's at this point. I would say that, and you guys got a little taste to watch him and all that. But look, we're not in pads, and but I would say this too, because I know that we've been pleased with Penasini where he came back into camp at, his weight, where he was in shape, passed the conditioning test, and by the way, he had. John Penasini last year they looked like softballs in his shoulder that he had repaired after the season, after the fact. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of calcium deposits that had been in there, and it's, and you wonder why when you watch the film last year, why he's not using his arm. It's because he had issues. And so it's a credit to him playing through it and all those things, but he's better. I mean, you could see it yesterday. It was impressive. Like, I'm pleased with Penasini too, so. Yep. Yeah. Look, I think that certainly they are similar, but I would say McNeil potentially has more rush ability at this point. We'll find out. You really feel like John's more of a first, second down, nose, goal line, short yardage, base, and you feel pretty good about that. Whereas we feel like Mac's going to be able to do those things, but he has flexibility potentially to play, the 3 technique if need be in 4 down, or even move out to DN in our base. Some of that, like the 4-eye stuff. But there again, we're so early right now that until we get in pads and we get going, we won't truly know. But we kind of feel that way right now, Dave.
Coach, how does that look with your timeline? I mean, you talk about, a couple of days down the road when you get to pads. Do you look at it like maybe every 3 days, every
Yeah, well, I think look, I think every day has its own, man, who shined, who did well. Here's the downside of being the head coach is you don't always get to see these players like the position coach sees them because they're around them. They see every little thing they do nonstop. Whereas the head coach, you're trying to watch everything, and I go up and watch the film. I watch everybody. But you're almost, and so that can be a little difficult, but the good news is, or the good thing about it is, because of that, when somebody pops, you feel it. You know, if somebody stands out and they get your attention, that's probably a good thing because you're looking at everything, you're seeing everything. So guy makes a couple of plays and they pop off to you, that's probably a good thing, you know? And so that's what you're trying to get, man. That's what these guys need to be thinking is like, how can they get my attention by the way they play? Like, man, I want the head coach to see me, not just one play, but like, man, I noticed you today over and over and over. So, you know, so I think every day has its own, you know, evaluation to it. But as far as a deep dive, their day off is when we'll hit the first big deep dive. Okay, we've had 4 practices. What do these guys look like? We'll go together as a staff, Brad and myself, his staff, and we'll just talk about them.
Like you mentioned, it's early, but what have you seen in Trey Flowers and his adaptation to that new kind of role that you guys are getting him playing in space a little bit more and doing some of the things you're asking him to do?
Yeah, look, he's doing a good job. It is a little new for him. It's different. It is. I mean, there's things we're asking him to do that he really hasn't done. But here's the beauty of Trey. He's smart. He works his rear off. He's adaptable and he's tough. And so to be able to play that outside defensive end, there's a little technique issue here, but I mean, he's gonna overcome and he'll develop and grow and get into it. Now, you know, there's some of the stuff where you're dropping at times, you know, it's all new, but I'm telling you, from where he was at spring to now, it feels pretty good to watch him. And he's only going to get better the more reps he takes at it.
Hey, Coach, there's been a lot that said about what, you know, Jaron Smith, Jamal Williams, about the run game. What are your early observations of the run game?
Jamar, you know what? I've been pleased with Jamar. There again, we're only 3 days in. And only 1 practice in, but from where he came in, summer, and to look at him, watch him run, his weight, you know, we had extra days with the rookies before, so we were kind of doing walkthroughs, but just mentally and watching him move a little bit. And then even yesterday, you know, I like what I've seen. There again, it's so early.
Dan, in your talks with second-year players like Kuda and Swift, what's been your counsel to them to help them learn from your rookie season?
Well, look, a lot of it will be because they're in their second season. You know, that's the biggest. You will never make the biggest jump in this league that you'll make year 1 to year 2. You just won't. And does not mean you're not going to continue to really grow. But you see it over and over. And I remembered as a player, man, year 1 and year 2, because you don't know what you don't know when you're a rookie. You're hanging on now. Like, we're going where? Okay, go this way. We got what? All right. So much less trying to really hone in on what your own little thing is, what your job is. But, you know, for me, it's just worry about what's in front of you right now. Just focus on that. You know, focus on the rep that's in front of you, the period that's in front of you, the day that's in front of you. And you know, look, Kuda, we wanted to make sure that he's been from day one, meeting with him in the spring. You can tell he wanted to be better. He wanted to be a lot better than he was last year. That was very evident. And let's call it what it is. You can't be better if you're not willing to truly want to be better, except that what I just put out there last year was not good enough. And so that's a hard pill to swallow, but he's done that, and he's very confident right now. Body language, when you talk to him, what he asked, the time spent with Aubrey, time that he doesn't have to be here, or he doesn't, you know, or the calls or the Zooms, or he goes in there with AG. And so just look, it's one thing when a guy says it, but when he goes and wants to spend extra time with the defensive coaches on his own, and and then you watch him and listen to him and how he attacks everything. You can feel it. You know, you can now. There again, it's early. It's a long season. Some things we're going to have ups and downs, but he's in a good place right now.
Guys, Coach Eric and Chris.
Talking about you guys position coaches, obviously you can't be everywhere at one time, but coming into training camp, was there any position of battle that you might have your eye on? I'm looking at this, it's going to be super competitive in this spot. What do you feel like are the most important positional battles in training camp this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot of them, but probably for me would be, I would say my eyes are on safety and an inside linebacker. And actually, I'd flip it. I'd say inside linebacker first, then I would say safety position. You know, I think those are going to be good battles. And I'm not just talking about starting. I'm talking about, you know, who's the next guy in, who's, you know, there could be, we could have 3 starters, if you know what I mean. They're rotating through. Could have 4. I mean, so much of it's going to play into with how special teams goes too, especially at that position.
Curious, when you guys are in pads, you know, the offensive line and the defensive line can't really get each other. What are you looking for on tape that shows you improvement?
Number one, can you stay up? Can you stay off your feet? Because if you can't do that and we're not in pads, like somebody's going to get hurt, or you're going to get somebody hurt, or you're just not a good enough athlete. Which Brad's done a good job with all that. That's a big part of it. And I think just the flow of calling the play, getting in there. You got somebody over you now, play clock's going, the snap count or what they're doing on offense, formationally, what's the call? You know, and just I think you're trying to pick up a little bit more of, it's just another step from where we were in spring now that we can go team. I know it's not pads, but you know, how do they handle the stress of now having to go against somebody even though it's not all out? And work inside the scheme doing that. I think that's kind of what you're looking at here. And like I told them yesterday, stay off the ground and use your hands. I didn't want helmets and shoulders and all that, so you got to be able to use your fundamentals, your hands, but you can still bend and do that. So I think more than anything, that's what you're looking for, really. The athlete, the athletic movements, the yeah, look, I think that here's the thing. For me, it's not even so much, it is the players. Some of it is the players inside the scheme, you know, because the nature of the way we're playing this defense and the nature of the way A-Len's wanting to do things offensively, until you can get into pads and really, really lay into each other, you don't know who's best suited inside that scheme necessarily, you know. I mean, there's some pajama warriors that are unbelievable, but you guys know it. It happens every year. You put the pads on, and all of a sudden they just drift away. And they may be the worst-looking athlete you've ever seen, and all of a sudden you put pads on, and they're just football players. So, it happens every year. It just does. So some of that's going to happen. Really, just so something happens, we need a spot now. That was the reasoning behind it, so that we could, need a corner, we can slide him in right now. You know, everything's been, that's kind of what it was, so we didn't have to go through, well, who are we cutting now before we decide we're going to bring somebody else in. It just gave us flexibility to do an immediate move, we felt like. Okay. Thanks, guys.